looks like a tattletale, but it's not. The tattletale won't tell on you. I promise.
I like it.
That's really funny.
What is that? Fish?
Ready?
Is it a fish?
Yeah.
Stand up.
Real?
Yeah, yeah. You just, if he's taking line, it's okay. Let him have it. No, don't reel. Don't reel. That's a fish. Yep, that's a fish. Go ahead, reel. Not hard. Just ease him in. Ease him in. It's no rush. It's no rush.
What happened?
Huh. You're okay. You're okay. Take it easy. Just bring him in nice and easy. So we had a dandy of a mark down here.
I want to get a dandy.
And Kara hooked it up. I see life, so the rod's jerking. I do believe this is a good fish. It's coming in fairly steady, so we're in good shape. Kara, you're manning it well. Just don't rush it.
Am I rushing?
Go ahead and step out over the side. We want to bring him out away from the boat if we can. There it is, a beautiful Laker. Bring his head to me.
Is it?
Yep. Oh my gosh, Kara!
Yeah.
That's a beautiful Laker.
Fishy. Oh,
It's
look.
bit the hook. Perfect. Go ahead and stow the rod. I'm just keeping the fish in the water for Kara.
Hold on. I need
She
to.
just caught a great Laker, guys.
The end is beautiful.
You did it, sweetie.
Dang.
Holy cow.
I did it all by my lonesome.
You did it.
Oh, yeah.
Woo, dandy trout.
Dandy trout. I want to name it Dandy. I don't know. I said I named the fish Dandy, and then it sounds like Bambi.
Oh.
Maybe this mother fish is dead too.
Look what Kara did.
Ew.
Come here, stand behind me.
Gross. Ew. Ew, that thing's ugly.
Look what Kara did, guys. She did great. Oh my. Just reminiscing of an old catch. We got a couple minutes before we need to kind of get into this, so figured I'd share an old video from the old channel with you. And that's my daughter catching the dandy trout. I know a lot of you guys have seen those videos. Little flash from the past. I'm kind of nerdy about that. I go back and I'll watch my old videos, and I'm always surprised at how long I've been bald. But it's fun to watch my kids catch fish. Just a couple years ago, man, but they look so much younger in those videos. It just feels like they're adults now. We're just kind of warming up, guys, so just say hi in the chat so I know you're here. And we're going to wait till 8 o'clock to start so people can kind of follow up. I said I'd start at 8, so I want to keep to my word here. I put in the chat, I asked, where should we go tonight on the map? So we're going to do a little bit of map work. A couple things we're going to do tonight. I have a pretty good itinerary for us tonight. Hopefully it's instructive. Hopefully you get some value out of it. It's like a no-cost tuition. There's no tuition for this education you're getting tonight. And it is an education. I am going to cover some stuff that's kind of in depth, some, not day one level kind of stuff. So if you guys are taking notes, just so you can recall a little easier. And of course, YouTube saves this video for you, so you can always come back and watch it. But the idea is, of course, give you guys arrows in your quiver, give you ammunition so that when you're on the water, you can apply what you've learned here over the winter. During this downtime, when we don't have a lot of time on the water, we can still be learning so that whenever we hit the water, we're just a little bit better. We have a little more edge this spring than we had last spring. So, where do you guys want to go tonight on the map? You can go ahead and start giving some suggestions in the chat. Say hello, then I know you're here. And I'll do my best to try and make our way around it. So I have a mapping program that's linked below in the video. And you can click on that and open that mapping program up on your browser and just save it in your bookmarks. And then you have a map program that you can use to look around Raystown Lake or Foster Sayers or Glendale, Shawnee, Canoe Creek, wherever you go. You can use it to move around and look at different depth charts and follow the topographic maps that are in there. Just something to kind of make, as I said in a few live streams ago, to make a big lake small, because fish aren't everywhere on that lake, on that body of water. So by using the mapping program, you can fine-tune where you want to look at with the limited time you have on the water. Anyways, it's linked below. We're going to open that up in just a few minutes, so save that in your bookmark, and you can open it up moving forward wherever you want. Phil's recommending looking on the map around mile marker 25, but it's nothing fancy. Okay. You know, there's places on this lake, Phil, that I used to call desert. Just there was nothing there. And so it was almost useless for me to put in any energy to go check it out, to try and research it at all. Come to find out a few years later that those deserts is just a cyclical pattern or a seasonal holding pattern. So though it's dead in the fall, it might be just bursting with life in the spring. So maybe it's more fancy than you think. It's 8 p.m., guys. Welcome to the chat. Thank you guys for stopping in. Say hello in the chat so that I know you're watching. My name's Randall. If it's the first time we've met, welcome. And I'll tell you that I am a charter captain at Lake Raystown. And it's pretty small and humble. This is going to be my 4th year, guys. 4th year going into a charter. I can't believe that, they keep giving me a license. But I'm happy to be a charter on the lake. I'm happy to be doing this live stream. Tonight we're going to get into some specifics on techniques regarding drifting. Drifting is one of the techniques I think a lot of people look right past. And I'm going to tell you guys all about it tonight. So hopefully you've got some pens and some papers. You're going to take notes. But if nothing else, you can just hang out. You can always come back and reference this video later because YouTube saves it for you. But welcome to the live stream, guys. Good evening, chat. I see you, Doug. I see you, Mark. Phil, we've been talking. Hello. Good evening. Bradley, I see you. Fish King's Cutlery in the chat. If anybody wants a custom knife made, Bradley is Fish King's Cutlery. You can follow him right there in the chat, and he'll set you up with your own custom blade. Robin Miller, see you. Hello. Good evening. It's good to see you. All right, let's get right into it. I got a little list of things that I want to go over with you. But before I do that, I actually want to bring up the map. So I'm going to open up my mapping program, which is in my bookmark. So if you guys don't have this map yet in your bookmarks, if you don't have it saved yet, it's linked down below this video. You can just punch on it and it'll open up, and then you just save that in your bookmarks, and then you can always reference it. You can always come back and check out the lake. And there's our local lake. I guess, Phil, we might as well just go ahead and jump on mile marker 25. And this is just kind of warm up, guys. We're going to get into the drift fishing, but first we're gonna scout the lake a little bit. And I think it's kind of neat on this map. You got a lot of landmarks, if you will, to look at. But we're going to get a mile marker 25, which is down around Shy Beaver area, down by the resort. Let me think here. 2022. Is this point right here 24, I believe? So let's look around 25. So I'm going to be talking about drifting a little bit. How about if I share with you guys the idea of drifting, and how about if we come back here to the Shy Beaver area and we'll pick a location, and then we'll take this drifting technique that I'm talking about with you, and we'll see how it applies to this later. And I think because it's spring on the horizon, that's probably what we're thinking about, is the spring bite down around this area. So why don't we keep it right up here around Shy Beaver, and we'll get into our drifting method, and then we'll come back to here. So you guys have your maps open, and we're going to be right here around Shy Beaver. That's where we're going to start at, right around in that area. All right, good deal. Bradley says he'll hook you up with a knife. Just reach out to him. Good deal. All right, guys, so we're going to talk a little bit about drift fishing tonight. I think this is one of those techniques that it's got that illusion that suddenly you can start casting a bait, or you learn how to troll, or you learn how to do other techniques that it's easy for us to think that we've advanced beyond drift fishing. So I want to reel it in and talk about drift fishing because it's so fundamentally important and applicable to all the other techniques. So the drift fishing technique is going to do a couple things for you. So first of all, I want to point out the simple fact, and I can open up the map to show you this. Good evening, Scott. Good to see you. I can open up the map to show you this too. First thing I want to say about drift fishing is how it naturally puts you on the fish. Now, how in the world does that work out? I want you to imagine that you are here at Shy Beaver and you have no idea where the fish are holding at. You are clueless. So you get out here in the spring and you're like, Randall told me to go to Shy Beaver in the spring because that's the best spot on the lake. So that's where I'm going to go. But you have no idea anywhere around here that the fish might possibly be holding. So what I'm going to tell you to do is, you see this main channel out here, the red dotted line that kind of imprints the main channel. You can't fish here because there's docks and stuff, but the idea is get yourself into the current. Get yourself into the current, and what I want you to do is just shut the engines off and let your boat drift. Now, two things are going to happen. One, the current is going to be strong enough that the water current just pulls you naturally toward the fish. Now, why are the fish there? It's because they're sitting there and they're looking upstream. So they're in the current and they're watching for their food source to come to them. The current naturally does that. It draws them in. So, of course, the fish find themselves in the current, and there you are, just floating right down, perfectly on top of them. The second thing you'll notice with the idea of drift fishing, current is not the only thing that's going to move your boat. And this is one of the big criticism. I can already hear it in the folks who are watching this later. It's like, it's not always current. Yeah, that's right. It's not always current. There's other factors. Good evening, Matt. It's good to see you. Ranger, welcome. Trophy Hunter, good to see you all. Thank you guys for checking in. You guys are nice and strong tonight. Do the thumbs up for me. Let's feed that algorithm. I appreciate your support. Wind and current are the two major influences on your drift fishing. So, wind has as much of an influence as current when it comes to those fish. So if you put your boat out in the body of water in an area that's holding fish, you know they're somewhere in the area, but you don't know exactly where. Put yourself out there and you're going to find that the wind and the current are going to find an equilibrium, and they're going to push you naturally. Naturally, they're going to do it. So you don't even need to know anything. You just got to sit and be patient. And it's naturally going to guide you to where the food is going. And if you follow the food, which you're going to be doing drifting, you're going to find yourself going to where the fish are waiting for their food. So drift fishing is one of those things we look right past because we think we know better, but sometimes you got to keep it so simple that even stupid could do it. And this is one of those simple methods I think people just turn their backs on because we feel like we've developed beyond it. So the next time you hit the water and you're struggling with finding fish, I want you to remember this. There's two things that's going to carry you there. It's current and it's wind. So you got to kind of let go of the controls for a little bit and let the drift take you to where they're at. Now, I do not mean to tell you guys to just drift aimlessly and blindly and that's the end of it. I want you guys to be thinking about how you can use the method of drifting and apply it to fishing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So let's jump back onto the map. So let's say it's spring and you hop out here and you throw your boat in the water. I imagine you would use Shy Beaver right here. You come out and you just come right out here in the open and you do exactly what Randall just told you to do. And you just turn the engine off. And you find yourself here in this current being drawn downstream. And we'll say that the wind has a negligible effect. So we're going to say that the current has the majority of the pull on it. And I'm only saying that because the wind can do whatever the wind wants to do. But we actually have the channel marked here so we can all follow along for this demonstration purpose. Let's just say the wind is pretty low. It's less than a knot. So it's basically calm air. Nice little calm breeze, but nothing that's going to make you drift too much off. So you're going to stay in this current. You're going to follow the course of this main channel. Whenever you find yourself getting in these channels, you'll notice that here on these bends like this, there's more energy, if you will, as it goes along there, as it goes straight. There's a lot of energy. But on the inside of this turn here, this is where the lower energy area is going to be. So what you've accomplished here at this point now, you've put your boat here and you've drifted out here across, moving closer and closer to the Raystown Resort down here. You're moving down and you're going to find yourself over here in this area. And I wouldn't be surprised if you kind of stagnate over here somewhere because your boat's going to have a little momentum and you'll get off the course. You'll probably slow down, something like that. Something's going to change. It's going to change because you got out of the main current. You kind of get washed out because when there's a bend in the current, it kind of kicks you off. Makes sense, right? Whenever something different like that happens, I want you to pay attention to that, so you want to be aware of it. Let me show you how to fish this. I think I have, yeah, I already have it drawn up for you. So let me show you how to fish this. I found this diagram somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's called slipping. And this is a method. It's not a new method, guys. I am going to talk to you guys about some fundamentals tonight, and it's going to be fun. So you're going to find yourself, I wish I could flip between these windows a lot quicker, but you're going to find yourself on this main channel here, and right when it breaks off, you'll probably find yourself over here, depending on where the wind kind of takes you. But this is where you want to start, or if you haven't already, you want to put some lines out. Now, how do you want to put your lines out? Because we're going to be drifting. We're going to be doing some drift fishing. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Let's work this area here where it broke off and something changed, like your boat stopped drifting. You know, there's something goofy hanging. You notice that there's like a low energy point right here. Your boat got off the main course. All right, let's bring up this slip fishing diagram for you. Slip fishing is think of using your trolling motor for the most part. You're going to use the trolling motor to control how you face the current, or whether you're going left or right, or how quickly the current's taking you, or if you need to actually go back up current, because you are going to want to work this current and be proactive with your boat control. So we're going to talk a lot about boat control tonight. With slipping, you see that there's 3 kind of diagrams here. If my head wasn't in the way, you could probably see them a little bit better. But there's a mid-current, or I'm sorry, a mild current, stronger current, and then just slack water. So there's like these different, the different diagrams give you an idea of how to approach them. But if it's a mild current or a stronger current, like most of what you're going to get at Raystown Lake, you're going to turn the boat into it, use your trolling motor on a very low setting. It's going to be like 1. It might be on 1, and you'll have to turn it off, or you'll advance, and you don't want to advance. The idea is you could even do spot lock and use jog. And if you guys aren't familiar with jog, that's just a spot lock. It holds you in place like an anchor. And then when you jog, you can tell it to move just 10 feet to the left, and it'll just move over there and spot lock again. Or you can use 10 feet forward, and it'll do that, and it'll spot lock again. You can use that method as well. But the idea is to hold the boat or gradually move with the current. But your lure stays ahead of your boat. So even though this diagram is showing it kind of off to the rear of the boat, it's actually understand that the current is carrying your bait in front of where your boat is going. So your boat is essentially traveling backwards right here. It's saying up here to lift and drop the lure, and here it says more throttle just because it's stronger current. Yeah, so here's the trick. Here's the trick you're going to have to figure out is how to balance the line. So you got to be able to get the line to function while you're slipping. So you're going to be slipping in and out of the current, and you're going to move ahead and back. I'm going to go back to the map in just a minute, but I need to point this out to you. There's a couple jigs that you can use. This is one of them. This is the Lindy rig that I've been telling you guys to try to look into. It's fairly simple. You got a no snag sliding sinker. These are little banana sinkers. You can use a normal teardrop or drop shot, whatever you have, but these ones that are curled, they're just a little bit better to keep you from snags. The bead protects the knot. Excuse me. And the one thing about this that I will tell you, or maybe 2 things about this I'll tell you I don't like about this diagram, is that snap swivel. I don't think you need a snap swivel. And the second thing is I don't think you need this this loop, this tie right here. I don't think you need any of this. I think this snap swivel and this loop here, this is extra. And I'm a big fan of nothing extra. I like to keep it super simple. So all I would use is a swivel, and I would tie this line straight to that swivel. The floating jig head, though, I am a big fan of, because that keeps your hook up off the bottom. And at Raystown, that's really important. You want to keep your hooks up off the bottom, and you can control how high off the bottom you are just by making that leader long. I don't think you want that leader to be longer than like 3 feet, maybe 4 feet, but I usually run just something like that, just about 18 to 24 inches, something like that. And this keeps your lure close to the bottom, and you can still detect bites. It's okay with this rig to actually let them take the line, so let them take and eat. So you don't have to set the hook real quick on this. It's like if you get a hit, you don't have to set right away. Usually what you're using is that jig head, that floating jig head, usually tipped with a minnow or a worm or something. A leech is common. But usually the fish will take it, so it'll take your hook, it'll take it and just kind of hold it, and it might even swim away with it before it engulfs it. So there's a little delay there. So you might want to actually open the bail and let it take the line, close it, let it get tight, and just load up on it. Did you see that movement? This is important. Don't Bassmaster Classic this. Do not rip at it, guys. This is not that kind of hook set. You just let it load up and you lean into it. You let the rod load up, the hook will find purchase, and it'll set the hook. If you rip and jerk at that thing, you're going to lose fish. So just be careful about that. Control your hook sets, bass fishermen. Good evening, Marcus. I just mentioned you. Bass fisherman, right? Yeah, just be careful with your hook setups, your hook sets with this, because it's just anytime you're fishing with a Lindy, just think of something more delicate. Just think of a more finesse kind of presentation that's right up to and including the hook set. So we're not going to be moving this real fast. As you slip along and as you bump along with your trolling motor, you're going to be moving very easily. So you're not running fast. You're just going to kind of ease your way along. So think of him as like sitting still in this mild current. It's going to float and it's going to be downstream here. And all you're going to do to make it walk is you're just going to kind of lift it up and let it sit. Lift it up, let it sit. And the current is naturally going to carry that along. You are essentially spot locking or very slowly moving with the current as your line goes ahead of the boat. So you're going to basically think of it as like following your bait. So you're going to move along with it. Now I want to go back to the map. Because I want to show you how you're going to work this little slack area. Where are we at here? All right, so here we are. We got into this slack area right here because we got thrown off this loop. You might actually motor back up to where you got thrown off, but you can certainly start anywhere you want through here. But think of doing this as a grid. So you're going to let it drift, and you're going to see, follow my cursor here. You're going to work this area right out across here, and then you'll motor back up, and you'll do it again right down through here. Motor back up, and work that area right back through here. And you guys see what I'm doing? I'm gridding this out. I'm just doing a grid pattern. And oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're fishing. I know this is painful, guys, but we love fishing, so this is where you get to go fishing. Do not skip the best part of the entire trip. This is where you actually slow down and stop thinking, and you just have rod and reel in hand, and you think about that bait down on the bottom with fish, and you're just waiting to connect with one that's biting. This is where you stop looking at electronics. This is where you stop using all the gadgets, if you will. So we're just going to use that trolling motor to keep us in that current and just work along it as slow and easy as we can. So you might have to turn the trolling motor up or down or off and just let yourself drift with it. But guys, look up. Look up. Stop. I'm saying that because we have forward-facing sonar, and it's so addictive. And I get that. It's a lot of fun. But this is the time where you need to focus not on the electronics, but you're focusing on boat control and bait presentation. Boat control and bait presentation is what puts the fish in your boat whenever you're slipping, whenever you're doing this drift technique. Without getting into it too deep, I feel like I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you guys. I'm going to hit the pause button here. Do you guys have any questions? I'm going to come right back to it, but do you guys have any questions about that so far? I was jigging through the ice this afternoon. I was out and I was doing dock updates up. I did one like on an ice report today, so you guys can watch that. But I was jigging through the ice just a little bit today. So you can jig through the ice at Raystown at some various locations. But I won't lie to you, it's kind of tough to get out there, and the ice is really sketchy. But dock update is up. You guys can check that out if you want. Do you have any questions for me, guys? I updated everything on the website here. I think we're all caught up. And guys, if you ever see anything, if you guys see anything on my website that doesn't seem to add up, like there's something you think that I might have written there wrong, like dates or anything like that, just let me know, okay? I am booking right now for the first 2 weeks of April. And if anybody wants to go on a fishing trip with me, let me know. I will show you personally how to do this slipping technique, how to effectively drift and catch fish. If you want to see this technique in action in one of my videos, the one you're going to look up is I catch 2 striper using this technique. And guys, I catch it right at the marina too, so it's right where we're looking at on the map. But I'm using this slipping technique with my main engine. So I didn't even have the trolling motor on my boat at the time. I was using my main engine. So yes, it was running the whole time I was striper fishing, but I was doing the same thing. I was working that current and I was just slipping back and forth through there, just working it like a grid. And it's called beach sweater. I remember because I was changing my shirt when a striper hit, and I thought it was funny that I had my shirt off from beach sweater. So that's the video. You can look it up. You can actually watch this technique happening in real time. 2 striper were caught using this technique in that video, and it's actually a live broadcast on Facebook somewhere. I forgot I live broadcasted that. So you can watch that happen in real life. But if you guys want to go fishing the first 2 weeks of April, I still have a couple dates open for that. This is before the Raystown Rendezvous as well. So if you guys want to get out on the water with me before we meet up for the Raystown Rendezvous, and right here's the Raystown Rendezvous registration. If you guys haven't done that yet, that's where you find it. And I guess I'll talk about the other stuff here later. All right, so any questions before I jump back into this? I think we're straight, right? Nobody's saying anything, so I want to talk about the good stuff. Save the good stuff for last. In slack water, it's just a little bit different. You have essentially you're dragging the lure with the boat. So because the current is so like almost just stagnant, it's just kind of flat. You won't have this too much at Raystown unless you're fishing the flats. If you're fishing the flats, you get a little eddy or something like that. It can be a little awkward. You might actually have to use the boat to move it. Think of this as really, really slow trolling, but it's not trolling at all. It's really about positioning your boat, fishing, and then positioning your boat and fishing. But it's not really trolling. You're still rod and hand stuff. This is a rod and hand technique. So how do you do this? This is the part that I always love, is like if I take a charter out, how do I do this with more than one person? And this is how you do it. You get more than one people doing the same technique. The technique, though, is a little bit different in that you would have some down lines. And if you look down here on the bottom, you got some weights to hold them at the depth you like. And then the guy on the back here would use essentially weightless. He might put some swivels and some beads on or something, just something to keep your bait down enough in the water. But you want 2 guys fishing 2 different setups. And that's just so you're fishing different fish, and you don't get tangled. So you're not working the same area. So you're not working the same water column. You're working the full column and not just the high or just the deep. Same action with the trolling motor. You keep the nose into the current, but you allow the current to move you back toward the fish where they're feeding. But this is a very slow, very deliberate process. You want to go nice and easy into this. And guys, you can run baits for this. The video that I just mentioned, I was running shad. So I had a standard Carolina rig striper, so live bait for striper. And I was working this just like that, just working that back and forth into the current and then let myself drift. And then sometimes I would go perpendicular. So let me jump back on the map real quick. I'll show you what I mean. I had already talked to you about moving like horizontal, if you will, on the screen, or parallel with the topo lines here. And you can do that. You can move parallel with them. But after you've done that, you can come back and work them perpendicular as well. The difference with this, though, is you can imagine your boat's actually going to be sideways while you're doing this. So you'll be jigging off to the side as you move your boat. And you're going to have the depth change is going to be a lot more drastic, you know. If you load up on a fish, whenever you're riding parallel, when you're going this way, if you're riding along at 50 foot here and you load up into a fish, you know there's fish at 50 feet. However, if you're dragging your line down this way, you might load up at 42 feet or you might load up at 52 feet, and it might not be as noticeable to you. So you won't be able to narrow your vision or narrow the scope of your hunting range, if you will. So the perpendicular is not as successful for that. So I do encourage you to go parallel with the topography, but of course you can try anything you want when you're out there. Sometimes that's what the fish needs, though. You need to see it drop down off a ledge, like this ledge right here. Looks pretty good to me. The inside of this current right here, where this gets a little steep right here, I like that. This looks it's like a good spot you could target your more aggressive fish, your predatorial fish. They should be hanging off that wall periodically. So when you guys come out in the spring, I want you to hold up a great big striper that you caught right here using this slipping technique, and then I want to watch you release it, because the spring is the time to be releasing striper, guys. It is a good time to be releasing. I have one more diagram I want to share with you for this slipping or drifting. Or do I? Did I jump by it? All right. So this one is, I kind of touched on this just a little bit, but it's the idea of maneuvering. So here we got a point, of course, but the current is really what you want to pay attention to. This little eddy, this is where I was talking about, you might have to do, you might just have to drag it. So this would be like slack water. So you got to use the boat to actually pull your lure. When I had my John boat and I was fishing this lake, I did a lot of fishing like this. It's mostly because I didn't have too many rods and reels. I had a John boat, and I think I had 2 rods. So I would do a lot of rod in hand stuff, and then I would just dangle like a chicken liver right next to the boat to try for a catfish. But I would use 1 rod, and I would just move really slow through the flats, through the points, and I had a lot of good fishing experiences with working 1 rod, guys. So you don't have to be heavy on this. It's good if you have a partner who's also proficient with a rod and reel. But if you get into eddies, though, you might find yourself doing like figure 8s or even circles, and that's what that diagram's kind of pointing out right down here. It says here to reduce the throttle to slip around, reduce the interior current of the eddy. Yeah, okay. So it's a lot of words. It's just saying use your trolling motor to control the position of your boat. So pay attention, look up, look away from the electronics, pay attention to the point that's off to the side, pay attention to your position on the water and how you're oriented with the current and with the wind as well. I did talk briefly about the wind, but I think it's actually more important than maybe I let on. The wind will absolutely push bait up to a side, even in slack water where there's not much going on. If there's good wind, it'll actually push that bait into that direction. So by kind of allowing the current and the wind to position your boat you will be naturally put into the position where the fish are going to be favoring. So it's going to put you in the right territory already. This is all about taking a big lake and making it small. And this is one of the easiest ways to do it. I'll also point out here with there's other things. Whenever you're drift fishing, when you're doing these techniques, because you're using your trolling motor, and sometimes you won't even be using your trolling motor, or you just be using it a little bit, you'll be silent. It's quiet. It's a sneak approach. A lot of fish are finicky. Walleye are known to be finicky. So if you come in there with a loud engine, usually walleye aren't going to hang out. You ice fishermen know this too, because if you drill a hole in walleye waters, you know that the walleye, they disperse. So you know whenever you're drilling holes and you're getting set up and stuff, there's really no rush. I'm learning a little bit about ice fishing. You guys are teaching me something. I appreciate it. The ice fishing thing has really opened up my mind, man. It has really changed my perspective of the winter water. And it's interesting too, because the perspective of what the spring bite is going to be, or spring patterns rather, it's really just winter patterns, but they're moving back. You're like catching this transition stage. Of course, every stage is a transition, but it's making it more clear in my mind's eye. I'm starting to figure it out. With the winds, there's two things to keep in mind. So I want to touch on this before I jump a little bit. With the winds, there's two things to keep in mind. One, the winds can be blowing into the shore. That's called onshore winds. The opposite is just offshore winds. Simply put, as you're working the current and the wind, when you're looking at drifting, you want to think of onshore winds is going to make you want to fish the shallower areas. So you follow the wind until you get into the shallows, but you don't want to push the bank. You want to stay out a little bit, and you use your spot lock, or you can use a hard anchor too, guys. You don't have to have a trolling motor. It's so helpful though if you have a trolling motor. If you haven't gotten one, get even a cheap one that you can just turn on and off with your hand or with your feet. But onshore wind means you need to move toward the shore. And then offshore wind just means you need to move out a little bit into the deeper area, because that's going to have an effect on where the bait is holding. If it's an onshore wind, the bait is going to be pushed up against the shoreline. The bait or the predators are going to use that to kind of trap them and to eat. And you want to be there when that happens. And if it's offshore, they're going to move down a little bit deeper. They might be pinning bait to the bottom to hunt them, or they might be pinning the bait to the top of the water to hunt them, and that's going to change your presentation too. So you could throw, if you find the bait is real high against the ceiling of the water, you might want to throw like paddle tails, or lighten your Lindy rig, or even run it weightless. And don't look past those leeches, guys. Leeches look great on a Lindy rig. Lindy rig. Lindy rig is the rig that I think a lot of people look past. It's really similar to a Carolina rig. Where am I at here? There it is. The big difference is this right here, the floating jig head. The floating jig head keeps that higher, so if you have a weight, it brings it down to the bottom, but it keeps it off the snags that are on the bottom. And who here knows there's some snags at the bottom of Raystown Lake? Every inch of that lake is a snag. So this is a really effective rig to fish at Raystown whenever you're slipping, whenever you're drifting, when you're working the bottom, for all your predatorial species. But that floating head keeps it up, keeps you out of trouble. And if you just take this weight off, you can cast this, and that'll keep it real high in the column. There's still a little bit of weight on here to kind of pull it down a little bit, but ultimately it's going to be a high in the water column rig, and that's where they're feeding. So that would be offshore. So onshore and offshore is something to consider about, to be considered whenever you're out there. Fish eye, where are Y'all, where are y'all fishing? I love that. So I'm just looking at the map. If you have a place you want to look at, I was looking at, we were kind of testing the area, if you will, around the marina. Or I'm sorry, the resort. So I'll zoom out so you can make sense of it. Down by Shy Beaver. This is Shy Beaver right here. You come out. And then theoretically, we just put our boat into the water right outside here into the main channel. We just let the water or the current pull us down. It's very possible that the current could be pulling you down, but the wind could also be could be drawing you south, and you could end up over here on this flat. And what you'll do is you'll find an equilibrium here. So you'll be going this way, and then the water or the wind will get you off the current, and you'll just turn. Because the current's not pulling you, and it's just the wind moving you. What you'll notice is your boat is going, and it just turns. It'll be like a 90-degree turn or whatever. So if you can pick up on that, like right here is where you want to think of targeting your pattern. So when you're actually drifting and slipping, you can waypoint this if you got your GPS on, and you would just work this area. So it was right here. And then you would just start running this parallel with the contours, back and forth, really slow, working through here. And if the wind is blowing you this way on the flats, this is a great time to do a grid pattern. So you would go east and west, and then north and south. And then this area right in here, because of the wind, more so than the current, the wind would be pushing them here. Let me point, this is such a simple thing, but you see on the map, this scenario that I'm creating in my head, it's only a difference about whether the fish are here or here. It's not that far, and fish are happy to travel just that little bit of range. They'll hunt where they need to hunt to be successful. They got to eat, but it's far enough that you'll miss them. You could miss them. So the point I'm trying to make with using the current and using the wind is to make a large area that you would have to search to figure out, and you narrow it. And it's going to make sense to you now because you're going to get out there and you're just going to let the boat do naturally what the systems are going to make your boat do. And the reason it works so good is because they're doing the same thing to the bait fish. And then your target fish, your predatorial fish, are going to follow that bait, and so naturally they're going to be in the position that you, by all natural processes, end up floating right into them. So it kind of narrows your vision down. So now you can work more efficiently, more productively while you're out there. So good, yeah. But that's the resort marina, just looking at the current and the wind, and we're working it for the predatorial fishes that are out there. That's where we're fishing at. You guys have a spot you want to look at, an area you want to fish at? I'm going to talk a little bit about, I can still talk about drift fishing with you. I don't want to get too crazy into it, but if you have any questions about anything I just said, this is a great time to punch something into the chat and recommend, or maybe I said something you don't agree with. I want to hear about that too. And we can talk about it before I shut this down, or before I change the subject. I still have some stuff to go over with you, but I'll change the subject on you. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate you following the affiliate links that are down below. I did link the heated gloves that I got a discount for us from Rock Bros. It's a bicycle company, and they make heated gear, vests, and all that stuff. But you can go to rockbros.com, link down below, and you can order a set of those heated gloves, because I know that's something we ice fishermen, and yes, I'm calling myself an ice fisherman now. That's something we ice fishermen all need, is some heated gloves. So I did get us 15% off on that, so it's a good deal on some good gloves. If you guys have been shopping for them, check those out. But the Amazon affiliate links, thank you. You guys have been following that. And I did want to point out something on my sight. I had here over the winter, I have the habit of doing all my repairs. So I'm sure you guys recognize these reels. I have the affiliate link down below, but this is the Okuma cold water. There's two reels you can pick up. There's like the old version, I'll say the early model, if you will, and there you go, the early model, this one, and then the new and improved model. The difference between these reels is so small. I think it's negligible. I think you're going to have the same performance with both, but I won't lie. This one does look a little nicer. But that being said, these two reels have been broken all summer, but I'm happy to say that I got all my parts, and it's winter, so woo! She's working smooth now, baby. That's going to sound great whenever them stripers start ripping. I love the sound of a good drag whenever a striper takes line. So if you guys have that reel and it's maybe not working as good as it was whenever it was fresh and brand new, you guys can go to my website. I do repair these, so you can send it to me and I'll fix it. And if you haven't picked one up yet, there's an affiliate link right there in the description. You just click on that and it'll take you right to Amazon where you can purchase one. Right now they're running about $164. So it's a good reel that will handle anything at Raystown Lake. And most of you guys are already following those affiliate links. I'm just pointing them out because I get a little commission from it. Doesn't cost you anything, but it makes me a little bit of money on the side. So I appreciate it. You guys have been on it already. Thank you. All right. Any questions before we move on? Any questions about drifting, slipping, the Lindy rig? Anything about current and wind? Is there something else you think you should be considering other than current and wind if you're going after them? A lot of this is kind of coming together. If we go back to the map, if you haven't watched my last live streams where I really broke down the map and I talked about different fish species and how they hold in different columns, what they favor, whether it's flats or ledges, points, or secondary points, there's a lot of things that will determine where a fish is going to hold. But in this case, when we're talking about current, we're going to be relating a lot to the topography underwater because we're talking about current. We're going to be talking about this main channel. And that main channel is going to create these ledges. And then the eddy areas, or the low energy side of this, you're going to create these flats. And so the reason I'm saying this is because it's all coming out. And if you haven't watched my other live streams, you're going to want to go back and watch them because I talk in detail about, like I said, the ledges, the flats, the secondary points, and just the drop-offs and how fish move through those systems. That, coupled with using these techniques that I'm going over with you guys from time to time in these live streams, when it all comes together, you'll be out on the water and you'll be like, oh, that's that thing Randall was talking about. And you'll start applying it and you'll start loading up on fish. One thing, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, Raystown Lake is one of the most difficult fisheries that I've ever fished. As a matter of fact, I can't think of a single fishery where I have more trouble catching fish. If you succeed here, and you feel that when you get on the water that you're going to succeed, at least with some regularity, that you have a high confidence you're about to make something happen, you'll be able to take these techniques and apply them on other bodies of water and just be that much more successful. It truly is a difficult lake to fish. Am I the only one? You guys agree? If you've had a difficult fishing experience that was worse than at Raystown Lake, I want to know what body of water you were on. Is there any place that you've experienced a bad day of fishing that was worse than a bad day of fishing at Raystown? I've got my tail handed to me here at this lake, and I love it. I love this lake, and I'm glad to take the knocks. But it is a difficult lake to fish, to learn. Once you do, you just stick to these basics and work them hard. But don't think you're going to come out here and not work hard. Those fish, as Mark just said, Raystown will humble you. So stick to the basics and work hard. Just know that that's what you got to do to succeed here. And we are going over the basics on these live streams. And if you guys appreciate that, you let me know, all right? And I'll keep on doing these live streams. Do you guys have any questions for me? Any recommendations for somewhere to go on the water? Any mile marker or anything at all you want to talk about? I'm happy to bring it up. We're late in the stream, late-ish in the stream. I'm probably still going to go for another 15 minutes or so it's not over or anything, but I don't want to jump into the next segment if you guys had something on your mind. Anything at all? Meadow grounds. So I haven't fished meadow grounds. I can't say. Interesting. A lot of trees, though, huh? Yeah, rough on the tackle box. Yeah, so, I charter here at Raystown Lake, and it's very common, I'll come up to, the ramp. I'll be dropping off a client or picking someone up, and another charter will be there, and we'll get to just kind of talking about fish conditions, water, and everything. And it's very common we'll pull up, and one of the charters could just got that look on his face like, I just got wore out with losing gear. Because if you lose 2 or 3 dipsies and plus the lure that's behind them and the line, and you got to redo your gear and stuff, like it can feel like, man, what am I? You start questioning all your decisions in life. But yeah, it can be some rough days. So we're good about it with the charters. I think we all have good relationships with each other. I think there's good camaraderie there to the degree it needs to be. We share bait, we share lures, we share information. The culture of just burying yourself or burrowing yourself into your own little world of knowledge and not sharing it with anybody else, just kind of scrooging it up and just hoarding it and keeping it for you and then chastising everybody for not knowing how to fish better. The old Scrooges are going, guys. We're bringing in a new culture. We're going to share information about this lake. We're going to learn how to fish this lake. We're going to be better fishermen for it. And the conservation side of it is just going to improve because we're better. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, the dock update took a little bit of sweat. It was quite a walk out. And my tea's cold. Yeah, so I walked all the way out there, but I was actually looking for a spot to go ice fishing, but just poor ice. Right on. Yeah, the culture shifted, guys. The culture is shifting. I want to remind everybody we're doing the Raystown Rendezvous, and that's coming up soon, and then I'm going to change subjects, okay? So when you go on Randall Rydes Fishing, you just scroll down, and you can order a lure if you want to, a set of lures here. But the Raystown Rendezvous is coming up April 10th through the 12th, and it's right here in Entrican. It's actually the blinking light in Entrican. It's only about 1.5 miles from there, just going north on Raystown Road. And it's on the right-hand side at the Lions Club. But all the information's right here. Got the address for you. But it's coming up April 10th through the 12th. I'd appreciate if you guys would do the voluntary registration. And that will help out with, there's a couple real expenses with doing this, and I appreciate the help with that. If you guys want to do a larger donation, all the way at the bottom of the page, there is a donate button. You can send as much, as little, or nothing at all. But get there. Bring your tent, bring the kids. It's going to be a family event. We're going to have a good time. And I'll be there. I've got a couple YouTube friends coming, a couple gentlemen who are tapped in closely with the fishing scene, and some people who I consider to be professionals and experts in the area of fishing that they focus on, what they're passionate about. And we're going to have a little round table, and we're going to talk fishing and just hang out. We're going to have a good old time. So sign up for that. It'd be good to have you. All right. So let me jump just a little bit. And I want to talk on this just for a little bit, but it's about high and low pressure. High and low pressure is something, if I'm being completely honest, I'm a bit of a novice at understanding the subtleties of this. So this would be a great time for you guys, if you understand this, the idea of high and low pressure, to give some feedback. You can actually contribute to this community just by giving some feedback on the study and understanding that we don't have of high and low pressure. The biggest thing that I pay attention to is whether the pressure is going up or coming down. We know if it's high pressure, we usually get bluebird skies, we get nice weather, and that's when a lot of people end up out on the lake because, it's beautiful out. I want to get out on the water. The problem is that high pressure is not conductive. It's not the best for fishing conditions. Usually high pressure means bad fishing, and yet that's when a lot of people get out there. Low pressure, on the other hand, is going to bring you clouds and wind and kind of just unsettled conditions, and I think that does more than just create like a low pressure system for the fish. Think of it as less weight holding them down. So there's less pressure, the fish can move more freely, but it's more than that. I think with the agitated systems, and that's the wind, that's the clouds, that's lower visibility and the agitation on the water even, I think it heightens their awareness. It gets them moving. It gets them excited even. So the low pressure system does a lot to help fish, whereas the high pressure system, think of it as a lot of weight on the fish's back. Think of it like somebody put a backpack on you and then put some railroad ties in the backpack, and then they sent you off to go do what you do for the day. So go off to work wearing that thing on your back. It's going to slow you down. It's going to make you move a little more lethargic. You might not even eat as much that day because you're sweating. You're miserable. So that's what I think of for the fish. Whenever the high pressure system is there, I think it kind of shuts them down because it's just a little more uncomfortable for them. So it's just really common sense, but I think that's what it is. That's my take on it. And on top of that is not just whether the pressure is high or is low, but rather whether the pressure is moving from high to low or from low to high. And the system's always in a state of flux, so you can track this. You can track where the pressure system is and where it's predicted to go, and you can use that with your prediction for the day. Something I do is I follow the moon. So let me do this real quick. Let me share the moon phase with you here. So here we go. Where are we at? Right here. I like to follow the moon. Today's February 2nd. So let's see what the moon is doing today. So yesterday was full moon. And right, you see a little full moon icon right there? But today is the 2nd. The moon was overhead basically at midnight, and it set here at 8 o'clock this morning, and it popped back up about 7 p.m. this evening. So it's only, right now, it's about 9 o'clock. So we are just kind of getting the moon kind of in the sky. So what I would say is I'd probably look, if I was going fishing tomorrow, if I was going ice fishing tomorrow, I would say that the peak of the moon here in mid, if you will, so the moon is at its highest position right about 2 o'clock in the morning. So I would say that the bite would be likely to be the best through the early hours of the morning. So I'd say midnight to, what time is this at? 8 o'clock. So midnight to 8 a.m. Does that mean the bite's going to be on fire all night from midnight to 8 a.m.? No. What it means is I would predict that the big bite is going to be during that window from midnight till 8 a.m. Now, you can start looking at other things in the system, like look at the weather, and you can look at the barometer, and you can find where the barometer, say it's going into a high pressure system, see where it peaks, and then it starts to drop off. Say that barometer is predicted to start dropping at like 3 a.m., I would guess then that 4 or 5 a.m. would be your bite. That would be your best bite. And that's great because it would correspond with first light as well. So the morning bite, the morning light, and the morning bite would correspond with the sun coming up as well. And we all know a morning bite is a good bite for fish. So if you get a couple things moving, you got the moon, you got the barometer, plus you got the daily morning bite. All those three factors kind of come into play at the same time. That's a great time to have your hut set up on the ice, ready to pull some fish out. Very good. Yep. So yeah, more weight. Kind of just think of it as like a backpack full of railroad ties, just pulling them down. High pressure, more weight. Very good. Yeah, it makes sense. I think it makes sense. I have some silly analogies I put together, but yeah, thank you. Appreciate the feedback. You guys can look in my browser right here for this moon tracker if you want. You guys can use this one too. I like it. I use it a lot. I use this when I'm booking my charters, months out. The only thing that I know for certain is where the moon's going. It's very predictable. So the moon will tell you where it's going to be at. And something I did a live stream back about here. If you look where my cursor is, I talked about how the moon was falling. And you'll see that the moon right now is actually very close to the Earth. So we got 230,000 miles. That's actually pretty close. But you see that it's actually rising. So it's getting, every rotation, it's getting further and further away from the Earth. So when it's closer to the Earth, you get more drag, more draw from the moon. So they feel that gravitational pull. And it's major, guys. It moves oceans. It lifts bodies of water. Crazy amounts, guys. This is real gravity, really drawing on the Earth. The fish pick up on this. And anybody who worked in food service, they'll probably tell you that last night was a full moon and you did not have to tell them. As a matter of fact, oh yeah, it was crazy last night. There were all kinds of wackos at the bars last night. Look at this. It was last night. So Sunday night at the bar, I feel bad for all our hostess, or barkeeps. Yeah. 8, 9 p.m., they were probably crazy in there. The bouncers were busy. Look at that. Full moon night, wild public. Last night was probably crazy. You guys work in food service? You let me know if I'm right. You know when it's a full moon. It's so much more apparent with fish. Now, with the cold weather, so now we have winter going on right now. I want to tell you this. It amplifies the effect of these systems. Good evening, Rick. It's good to see you. What that means is everything we looked at, whether it was the moon or it was the barometer, it was I want to say whether current or wind would be it, but the cold water, the cold winter season, the cold water is going to amplify this. And what I mean by amplify is it's going to pinch down the amount of time that they're active, because the winter activity of fish is they don't want to move. They just don't. But whenever it gets to that point where they know they need to move, they do all the moving and they're very active. So everything's heightened, but it's narrowed down. So they narrow the vision. This is why it's even more important that you start to read these systems. I'm not telling you to be on the water from midnight till 8 a.m. But if you can be, that's a great time to go for it. If you track nothing else but the moon, that's a great way to give you a window to be on the water. And you'll be there when the bite hits. Yeah, Scott. Scott said it right. The Gulf of America. I wish we would have called it Gulf of America. I can't be sure, but I think this actually has... Yeah. So this, again, you guys can follow this link right here and put it right into your bookmarks. It's just timeanddate.com. That's all it is, timeanddate.com. But you'll see down here, they actually have the sun and moon for the day. They have sunrise, sunset, moon phases. So they have all the different things you can look at here, ways to calculate and follow moonrise and moonset. So it's a useful website to have. That and of course the mapping program. It's really good too. You guys have somewhere you want to look, and we'll kind of tie this live stream up. If you guys have any questions or any mile marker or landmark somewhere on the lake that you're curious about, anything at all, I have a little bit of time yet to give you guys. So what is on your mind? Talk to me. Maybe we'll pull the map and go down and look at the Gulf of America, Scott. I haven't gone to the Gulf on this mapping program yet. Let's do it. Here we go, guys. We're leaving Pennsylvania. We're going down to the Gulf. I want to, specifically, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to look at a place that I'm interested in. You see all the oil rigs out there? It's pretty amazing. I wouldn't mind to get down and fish those oil rigs a little bit. Where am I at? Here it is, Panama City. So I've looked at possibly doing some fishing down here around Panama City. I wouldn't mind. Wouldn't mind that at all. Look at that. Fantastic mapping program, guys. It really is. I think you have to get a permit to be able to fish back here in St. Andrew Bay. Back through this area here. I think you need a permit for this. But this is kind of a goal of mine, is to kind of get transplanted down into the Panama City area. Basically for this time of year, so I don't have to be up north for all this cold. This nonsensical cold that Pennsylvania has this year. You guys can keep it. I don't want it. But that's what I'm thinking. That's where I want to go. And I got a lot of buddies that live down in Florida already. So I'm ready to go now. I am ready. Look at that. I guessed that pretty good. Good deal. You guys have any questions for me before we cut out for the night? All right, Heritage Cove up by the power plant. All right. Yeah. You know, I fished the power plant as much as I've fished anywhere on the lake. I'm telling you, when I was a kid, I just lived there. So I have love for the power plant. Like right here, when I got my John boat, it's kind of funny because, you know, old habits die hard. When I got my John boat, and guys, we're kind of just wrapping up the live stream, so I'm just going to hang out with you for a little bit if you got any questions. Or you can hang out, we'll just shoot the breeze. When I got, I bank angled a lot just right there from, like, say, the Weaver Falls Bridge up to the power plant. I used to just hike along there, bicycle down, and then hike along, and just days and days. I burnt some of my youth up down there. Some of the most valuable days I had in my youth. But when I got my John boat, I didn't do anything different. I just did more of it. So I got my John boat, and I would put it in at Weaver Falls, and I would go upstream. I would go to the little haunts and holes that I knew how to fish. And let me show you one here that I always loved. I would spend hours here. I can tell you, when I first got my John boat, there's this area right through here. So right here's the Weaver, the bridge coming across for Weaver Falls, and I would go down and put my boat in at Weaver's, but I would bring my John boat up here, and right here on this bend, right here where it's like this last bit of depth, so it's kind of deep through here. But I remember I brought my John boat up here, and I was actually slipping right here. So I was doing this drift technique right through this area right here. I was holding my boat with my trolling motor, and I had a tiller, so a hand tiller on my John boat, and I would just put it on 1 or 2, and I would just keep steering it into the current until I was pretty much holding position. It was always moving, but I was there hand tilling and still casting, hand tiller, casting. Like I was multitasking, guys, but I was drifting right here. I was letting it pull my lure down. I was Carolina rigging, and I even remember it was a big Senko because I didn't know. I'm telling you, it was ice out spring. It was so early in the spring. It was probably still February. I'll tell you, it was crazy cold. But I'm out there and I was drift fishing this Senko, this huge Senko. It was green pumpkin, but the very end of it, the tip of it, was chartreuse green. And I was using an EWG hook on it, and I had it hooked up real nice because I was learning how to use hooks properly. And I remember I threw it behind the boat, and I was just kind of doing this little slip technique, just moving it a little bit, bouncing it, lifting it, and just dropping it and stuff. I never left it out of the strike zone. It stayed in the strike zone. Guys, I worked that Senko for like 30 minutes, and I just stayed there as long as I could, and I said, I know there's a fish in there, and I'm not leaving till I catch it. That was my attitude, and sure enough, I loaded up on this great smallie. This smallie that I caught right here on this, just down from this little island here, it's just down on the inside right here, pretty much right where the cursor is. That smallie that I caught, guys, that was the first smallie that I ever caught, the first fish I ever caught from my John boat. So I was graduating from being a bicycle fisherman to being a John boat fisherman. And that fish right there was the first one. That started the whole boating voyage that was ahead of me. Just a great experience, man. If you don't have a John boat, ladies and gentlemen, get one. It's going to expand your vision. It's going to open up a whole new chapter for you guys in your life. And I encourage young kids to get John boats. Get a John boat, put a 9.9 on the back, get a little trolling motor up on the front, something, but get out on that water and start catching fish. Some of the most valuable days and the most valuable lessons I learned in my young youth. Yeah, Robin, that's actually that's good input. Yep. I don't have a particular brand of circle hook. I do not. I will say that I use a heavier gauge than I know a lot of people like to use light gauged hooks. I'm not a fan. I don't like my circle hooks to flex at all. So if I'm running chunk bait, I want it to be their very rigid hooks. But really any rigid circle hook, I'll make work. They're pretty forgiving. But yeah, you just pull up into the bank and you downline for them. It's a great technique for striper. And I'll tell you, it's probably, I'm going to come back, Bradley, I'm going to come back to Heritage Cove. We're going to come back to the power plant here. But I want to talk about this idea of bank angling from the boat for striped bass. Let's go back to the same area we were talking. Let's go back to Shy Beaver. So it's spring, and we want to go out here, and this is the area that we were talking about, so we're just going to stay right there. We're going to talk about this. If I was going to come out here to Shy Beaver, and we're going to continue to use the same technique, we're going to talk about drifting, and we're going to talk about slipping and drifting. It's kind of similar, a little bit different. Slipping is more about, using the trolling motor to stay in the current. You kind of work that, you slip back and forth, whereas drifting, you pretty much just put lines out and you let the current pull you along. I don't like drifting so much because you have no control. And at some point, I want to use my brain and think about where the fish are holding. So if you come out here out of Shy Beaver and you turn your engine off and you're right here in the current takes you, and then the wind is blowing you down and you kind of get off here and you're out of the current. So now the only thing moving you is wind. You're going to find you're going to pull over in this direction. If that happens, now you've recognized it. You say, okay, I was drifting, and where I naturally get pulled to by the current and the wind is where the bait and therefore the predatory fish are going to be going as well. Drifting will naturally put you in position. It'll naturally put you on fish. So if you find yourself over here, you have to know that this is a good area for you to potentially do some downlining for striper. Now, in this case, this simple example, I know what's over here. There's a campground along this side. There's docks back here and a ramp over here. Docks here. And then there's the marina over here. There's not a whole lot of places here for you to bank up and just drop lines. But there's no reason you can't drop a hard anchor. In my opinion, you're better off dropping at least 2 hard anchors. Because the current isn't too extreme here, I would tell you to do one off the front and off the back. If the current was more extreme, I would tell you just to do 2 off the front. But I would drop one, then motor over a little bit and drop the second one, and then pull them both tight so that your boat would essentially be tethered in 2 directions, 2 anchors, but the front of your boat wouldn't move, just the back would kind of sway a little bit with the wind. And that's how I would bank angle. It's not necessarily just banked up, but you're anchored up. I would go in here right where you blew off of the course, and I would just set up there as close as you could to the current without being in the current, is what I'm saying. You want to be where you broke off of the current and the wind took over. But that's where I would set you up, essentially right where my black cursor is right there. In this example. So you're flowing down, the wind gets the best of you, gets you blown out of the current, and you slip out right there. Truth is, you can anchor up anywhere along here in this scenario that I've given you, and all of that is going to be a good area to drop and do some downlining for striper. So that's what I would suggest. Not so much banking up to go after striper if you're going to downline, but because you understand when you bank up, you're subject to where you can bank up. You're limited in where you can actually tie your boat up to the bank. And you're guessing. A lot of those times whenever people are banked up looking for a striper, they're guessing. They don't really know if they're striper. They're like, oh, they go through here sometimes. Isn't it so much better to go where the water's telling you to go? You go where the fish are more likely to be pushed, where the bait's most likely to be pushed in, so that your predatory species are going to be hanging out in that area. That makes more sense. So learn how to use a double anchor system and work that into your bank up downlining routine. So there's a little tip, I guess. I think that might help without going into it too crazy. Any questions about that? In the meantime, I'm going to run back down here to the Heritage Cove. I just told you about this. So this bass I pulled in, I want to share this with you too. Right here, there's some rapids. So right through this section, it gets real shallow. Like you have to, your boat has to be in this. Do you see the depth? You got like 6 foot here and 6 foot here. But look through the center here. Look, it's like 2, 3, 4 feet of water. And it is 2, 3, or 4 feet of water. You're going to have to trim up your engine. As a matter of fact, right now, I should drive up here and look at this. I bet you if it's not iced over, probably mostly iced over, it's probably a trickle. It'd be, I don't know, maybe it's deeper than I'm thinking. But it's super shallow right through here. I'll tell you something I used to love to do is the same position with my John boat, but I would usually I would either favor the bank on this side or favor the bank on this side, whichever gives me the better opportunity for casting. But I think if I remember right, I usually set up over here, and I'm thinking it's because it's there's some rocks and stuff along this edge, And so what I wanted to do is, I think I was trying to set up along this edge and work in, and then fan cast into those rocks. So as I would move my boat up, I would fan cast into these rocks. You see that? But this is super shallow water, guys. So I was using my trolling motor to work my way. I think I actually had to trim it up so it was up out of the rocks. But you know what I would throw here? It's top water. A jitterbug. I used to kill them with the jitterbug. And this was rapids. So it was coming through and it's just real like rapidy water there. And I would be throwing a top water and just ripping it back through there. Plop, 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 plop. You know what a jitterbug is? And I used to pick bass up, just picking them up. Just fan casting right across these rapids along here. Just keeping my John boat close to the bank over here. Because it was still in the channel. And I still had good flow. And I could hold it in position. And I would just work up through there. And I would just hammer and bass. Man, those are good days. Get the John boat on the water, boys. It's almost John boat season. Yeah, we can talk about bait for a minute. We'll make this our last subject for the night. We'll talk about catching bait up around Snyder's. Yeah, we can do that. Awesome. Good questions. I appreciate the interaction. So let's go up to Snyder's real quick. I'll show you some of my bait haunts, places I go for bait up around Snyder's. Excuse me. There's Snyder's right there. I'll simply tell you right here, right at the dock. This is probably the number one spot because I like to meet my clients at the dock. And so it's nice when I put my boat in the water and I'll come out here real shallow. And I'll usually, because there's a light up here, usually bait is already pushed up into the dock. So I can usually at least find some bait and throw on them. If they're a little sparse, if there's not a whole lot, I have a green light I put down, and the green light will draw them in. They're not always there, I know. I try to do my bait casting the night before. It's just bait catching the night before, just so that I have that pressure relieved from me before I go and pick up my clients. But if that doesn't work, I've had a little bit of luck catching bait back through here, back through these 2 points. But I just talked about this the other night. This is Baker's Hollow right here. And I've caught bait right back in here quite a bit. So Baker's Hollow, if you don't remember, there's a buoy sits out here that says shallow water danger. It's just sticking out there. It just looks like it's by itself. But that's Baker's Hollow. And it's right across from the H1 sign. H1 sign is right here. This is where I was today. I was out here this morning. This is where I did my dock update. Dock update is uploaded. You guys can watch that. It's a good ice dock update. So if you guys are curious about the ice, it's on there. So I was taking shots of this big bay out in here and out through here. The big crack you see on the opening shot, it's a big crack cut out across right here. But yeah, so that's a good spot back in here, right here in this, after this point that's way back in here. Just go back in here and put out a light, or if you're lucky, you'll get back here and the bait is just popping. You'll be able to find them, no problem. That's a couple places up in Snyder's. Ultimately, it's like, it's like deer hunting. The deer are going to be where the deer are going to be. The bait's going to be where the bait wants to be. And sometimes it just dries up. I have no idea why they do it, but they just dip. They're out. And they're just gone. And they don't come back. I'll show you another spot, just because I know bait is a thing. I love catching bait. I'm actually pretty passionate about bait catching, so I can talk about bait a lot. But here's Marty's. We're down at 7 points. This is actually another good spot that I like because it's really convenient. So here's the marina. Where are we at here? Where's the dock? Right here's the dock at the 7 points marina. But here's the dock, the public launch. If you follow this draw right in to where it kind of pinches out, depending on the depth that the bait sits at, it can be anywhere from shallows to being 50 feet deep sometimes. But it's usually somewhere in between here, you'll find bait, and they'll be stacked, pretty good. There's usually a pretty good blanket of bait. But the issue with this is sometimes you're throwing a net in 40 feet of water, 35 feet of water. That's very common here. The point I'm trying to make is you're going to have the right gear. You're going to have the right net. You're going to have a large net that's heavy, or you can use a tape net. And a tape net just has a way of just kind of staying open longer while it goes down. But you can't go out with your Walmart brand cast net and expect to throw in 40 feet of water. Your net is going to close before it even gets down to the bait. So highly unlikely you'll catch bait if you don't have the right gear. But hopefully that helps. Good interaction tonight, guys. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't done it yet, hit the thumbs up and do me this favor. I'm so close, guys, so close to monetizing this channel so that YouTube starts paying me finally. Can you imagine all the stuff I've done on YouTube? They still don't pay me. It's insane. Think about that for you guys getting into YouTube. It's a lot of requirements. So check your sub, and I know most of you are watching and rewatching but aren't subbed. And I know that because it says 80% of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure that's you, and I appreciate that. We're trying to build this channel up and make it part of the business. And I'm happy to do this and stuff. It'll be even nicer if YouTube starts to compensate me for my time. Yeah. But that's it. Definitely helps finding bait. Great. Happy to help. All right. So, homework assignment. Between now and the next time we talk... excuse me. Between now and the next time we talk on the live, I want you to think of an area or a subject or a lore or a question of some sort that you want for me. The more interaction I get from the chat, the better I can custom these lives to help us out. We are the community, we are growing, and we are learning, but it's really helpful if we help each other doing that. And one way you can do that is by giving me some good feedback, and there's no better way to do that than asking questions. And then I'll understand what you're thinking. And before you guys leave, jump over to randallrydes.com and go to the fishing page that I have and shoot down to the Raystown Rendezvous, and everybody register up on this. I'd appreciate this. This is a voluntary registration, and it's just something to help out with the expenses. The expenses are very real, and I am very actually covering the expenses for them. So I'd appreciate that. Any help is appreciated. There's the registration. And if you want to send more than the $5 registration, there's a donate button at the bottom. Thank you for everybody who is doing that. I appreciate the help. But that's it. I'm going to let you go with that. That's the end of the live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. We'll see you on the ice, huh? Much love and much respect. Good night, guys.